Let's dive into the matchup. Let's start on the defensive side of the ball for the Sooners. Ted, what are you watching for from OU's defense against West Virginia's offense?
Oh man, this is going to be a awesome challenge for the defense. Whenever you look at what's gone on the last couple of games, the defense has played well. In moments they've played great, but we've still lost. And the main culprit is the turnovers. It's the main culprit in why this football team has lost. All right, 6 turnovers in the last 2 weeks. We went from number 1 or close to number 1 in the country in turnover margin, and the last 2 weeks has really put a dent in that. So the reason I bring that up is what West Virginia does, we absolutely cannot turn the football over. Why? Well, we just got destroyed by Oklahoma State in time of possession. What was it, like 37-22, something like that? Just lopsided, okay? West Virginia is the number 4 team in the country for time of possession. All right, they run the football really well. They're going to be methodical in what they do. They're number 1 in the Big 12 running the football conference games only. All right. That's pretty impressive. Well over 200 yards a game, and they rank 7th nationally in rushing. So it's going to be critical to get off the field, and it can be a limited possession game because of their methodology. So we cannot give any of those drives away offensively, and defense to prevent some of those longer drives from happening. You have to be good on first down. We have to be good on first down. It's going to be the most critical down of the game for us. What you get from them offensively, there's not a whole lot scheme wise that I look at and I'm just like, wow, that's going to be really difficult. They do some stuff in the running game where they have like a quarterback counter off of it, like some of the toss and quarterback counter the other way to split your defense and some of those things. But really what it is, it's just a physical fire off the football run game. You'll get some counter stuff. You'll get some split zone, and they'll run that out of a bunch of different looks. You're going to see some outside zone stuff. They like to toss the football quite a bit. You're going to see, pretty much the same group of running plays that we've seen this season for most people. They'll get to it a bunch of different ways, but to me, I don't know what you think, Gabe, and I heard this from Coach Venables on Monday night at Rudy's as well. The offensive line is, I think he said, the best part of their team. I'll say it's for sure the best part of their offense.
I think it's the strength of their football team. And I think with the way that they come off the ball with velocity, plus they got some talented guys. Zach Frazier, their center, I think he's the best center in all of college football.
He buried the Mike Backer at BYU all the way into the back of the end zone, pancaked him on that touchdown run.
You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
Creed. He reminds me, if Creed would have been in a zone system, I think that's what it would have looked like. He's that good. I think he is a second, maybe at the very least, an early 3rd round pick. He's that good. They've got multiple guys on their offensive line that are going to be draft picks. And they play with velocity and an edge. I think the argument can be made that this is the best offensive line that OU's seen.
Yeah.
I think with the way they play, I think they present more of a challenge than Texas for this Oklahoma defensive line, because they get you moving laterally with a lot of this stuff they do in the run game. And with youth at backer and the uncertainty with Stutzman, right? Is he if he gives it a go, is he going to be right? The gaps change a lot faster with the way that West Virginia does some things in the run game, man.
No, I totally agree. And we're coming off of 2 weeks where, I wouldn't necessarily say the defensive line played bad, but they didn't win the battle. Right? They didn't win the battle. They're blocked against Kansas way too often, and against Oklahoma State, in some critical moments, we either couldn't win some one-on-ones to put pressure on the quarterback, or we're getting pushed off the ball a little bit. I think that, again, the first down is going to be critical. If you're going to have a good game against West Virginia, you have to put them in 3rd and long. Garrett Greene is athletic. He can run. You have to be careful whenever you're coming after him in the rush game, in your rush lanes, because he can get outside the pocket and he can beat you. He can either get outside the pocket and pull it, and he's a legit 4.5 guy. He's got speed. We've seen him. It's not like this is the first time we've seen the kid. He torched us last year up and down the field running the ball. So we've got to stop him, but he'll also get outside the pocket and extend plays in the passing game. So that's going to be critical. And the best way to manage that is whenever they're not in 50-50 downs, 50-50 run pass downs where they've got access to their whole playbook. You have to be good on first, make them on second down, maybe be a little riskier than they would like to be. And hopefully you take advantage of quite a few of those opportunities to get some 3rd and longs. We are a really good 3rd down defense. So if we could put them in 3rd and long, be smart about our rush and containing Greene and put it on his arm, that's our best chance to win the football game, in my opinion. Now, we're going to have to cover because they got some good wideouts. Devin Carter, he's a 6'3" wideout, transferred. Guy's played football for like 100 years. He's a 6-year guy from NC State. He's come on strong for him, and they've got a 6'7" tight end. That's a transfer from LSU, and I don't know. He may be the most productive tight end that we've played this year. I mean, I know Sanders was banged up, and he's the best at Texas, but what they get with Taylor, 87 at tight end, they'll go to him a bunch. Boot. And, I mentioned Boot with Greene. They like the boot passes. They like a lot of sail where, it's like a flood and you get like these deep, you really stress the hook players. The hook players have to push to the outside and play. That's very difficult. They'll run a lot of that, and they like to throw the fade balls with Greene also. But the boot is so effective because of the velocity of the offensive line you're talking about in the run game. Whenever they're hitting you with zone and outside zone, and those guys are firing off and really trying to cut people off on the snap, and boom, you see Greene's got that ball out there and that line is flat. Those backers are coming downhill because they're trying to not get cut off, and he pulls it. And that's why the boot is so effective for them. I really like their boot schemes and what they do. But started to ramble there a bit. The point, get him in 3rd and long and put it on Garrett Greene as a passer, like as a drop back guy. That's not his strength. That's not their offensive strength.
Looking at some of the interesting things they do offensively, how many times do you think they're going to throw 7 offensive linemen out there on the field?
Maybe 60% of the time on early downs. Yeah.
They do it a lot. I mean, they do it a lot because they feel really good about 7 guys that they got. Now they've had some attrition at the O-line spot where they've had to play a couple backups, and those guys have played pretty well. But I think this game comes down to OU's defensive line playing well.
Yep, that's it.
They got to play well. This offensive line for West Virginia is much better than Oklahoma State's, and they are much better than Kansas's.
Yeah,
it's just what I see on tape.
Yeah.
The D-line has, from a tackles for loss perspective, has disappeared the last 2 weeks. If that happens again, this one's going to be interesting, man, because we haven't even mentioned the running backs.
Yeah. Physical, big. What's Donaldson's like 6'1", 240 pounds almost. He's their go-to guy. And then
and not only do they have him, then they bring in the two guys with the wiggle.
Yeah. Yep.
So they've got that dynamic at backs, like this big downhill power back in number 4, CJ Donaldson. And then they bring Justin Johnson, 26 in, and they also bring 22 in. And those guys have speed and shake and space.
Yeah. And
I just realized we're really scaring OU fans right now. And I'm just telling you, the offense is.
Yep. Run game especially is really, really good. And that's what I was about to say. I think we see a lot of Kobe McKenzie at the Mike Backer spot. Now, and I've said I believe that our two best backers are Stutzman and Kip Lewis. I would love to see Stutzman at Mike and Kip at Will, but you know, Stutzman's your most veteran guy. He's had an incredible season. You don't just pluck him from his position and move him unless like that's something that, number one, he's willing to do and he's comfortable with and he's okay with. You know, I don't know how you handle that, right? That's kind of an interesting thing. You don't want to disrupt what he's done really well. But Kobe McKenzie at the Mike Backer, this is going to be a physical run game. They run the ball more than anyone in the conference. So that's what he's best at. He's smart. He's good at the run fit aspect of things. You think he's got really good vision and he's a good tackler. Now he lacks a little bit in the passing game, but I think in this one, you may have to give some of that up because of how good he is against the run. But you're right, the defensive line, and I would just say the front seven, they have to be on it. You cannot screw up the fits, and you've got to be physical in this football game.
I completely agree. One thing I had in my notes about West Virginia's offense, this is going to sound strange. OU safeties, you are going to be set up 3 to 4 times in this game to get a targeting call.
Yeah.
Because Garrett Greene will throw 3 or 4 hospital balls a game where there's a safety in the middle of the field and he's still throwing the seam. He can see the safety. He's like, I don't care. And just throws it. You go pick the ball off. Don't get ejected from the game because those opportunities, they're going to be there. He does it every game, but it's in those situations you're talking about where it's 3rd and long, it's 2nd and long. They got to go to the pass game. He will make mistakes if you force him to play from the pocket. But you have to get him in those situations and then don't get thrown out of the football game because I'm just telling you, man, I know you've seen it.
Yeah.
He will put his wide receivers in some dangerous positions.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And, you know, it's interesting that in this day and age, it's rare. The completion percentages have skyrocketed over the last decade. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. Number one, it's like the easy RPO, like to just quickly throw it and get it in a guy's hands. But, you know, they've been coached really well. Quarterback play has been pretty impressive, but he's only 53% completion percentage. Like that's pretty low. Now, some of that throwing the football away and being smart with it, but other times it's throwing it into some risky areas and, you know, not being on target. So yeah, I totally agree. I think you have to, which, you know, I said last week, you got to put it on Bowman's arm, right? And he lit it up and he had one of the best games of the season. So it doesn't mean that you just put it on the arm and then, you know, we're done here. We gotta tighten up coverage and be really good on the back end too. But getting them into those third and longs is going to be the critical aspect.
Anything else? OU's defense, West Virginia's offense.
Huge challenge. That's it.
All right, let's talk about OU's offense versus West Virginia's defense. First of all, 3-3-5 structure. Now, that third linebacker is what they call their bandit linebacker. It's kind of a linebacker DN hybrid position there for Jared Bartlett at the edge spot. So a lot of the time you'll see four guys along the line of scrimmage for their defense, but he can drop in coverage and he's got speed. He can really run. From a coverage standpoint, they are a deep zone coverage team. They're a deep zone coverage team. They're going to give you a lot of 2, a lot of 3. They'll do some combo coverages, right? Some quarter, half, but you're looking at deep zone coverage for the most part. They're not an aggressive coverage team. Now that could change with some of the success that teams have had here lately against Oklahoma playing that way, but that's just not what they've shown a lot of on tape. The one thing that stands out about them, it's a physical group. Now, not an overly talented group, especially along the defensive line, but they battle, they strain, they look physically strong along the defensive line and at linebacker. Lee Koba, their Mike Backer, number 1, he is on the all get off the bus team. He looks like Kenneth Murray if Kenneth Murray would have lifted a little more. That's what he looks like. Like, he looks the part.
Trotter Jr. at Clemson.
Yes, he is looking the part, but as a group, I mean, they're a middle of the road defense here in the Big 12. They're okay against the run. They're okay against the pass. When I watch them, I have a hard time figuring out what they do really well. I also have a hard time figuring out, okay, what are the glaring weaknesses of this group? I mean, they're just a right above average defense that seems to do a nice job against the run. Their run fits are not great. A lot of the times, especially if they are bringing any type of pressure, the run fits get really poor. They are not gap sound a lot of the times. And I think it has a lot to do with the linebackers not having a great understanding of how to fit off the defensive line, especially in gap schemes. They seem to really struggle figuring out where they fit if the other team's running counter, power, things like that. The defensive line, they look difficult to move off the football. Now, they don't do a great job of using their hands and getting off blocks and making plays, but they make life tough on you when it comes to moving them. 91 Sean Martin is my favorite. Guy looks huge. I do not think, once again, I don't think the linebackers do a good job playing off of those guys. And going back a few weeks, Ollie Gordon went off. And a lot of it was in the fourth quarter. And a lot of it was because West Virginia just could not figure out the run fits. They were bad. Bad. So you look at some plays that I think could be successful. We've seen the Sooners have success with counter here lately. I think that's one you got to see if they can figure out those run fits. Stretch is not a play that OU has run a ton this season, but they've run a little bit of it, and I think it's a good play. That defensive line, they get reached so easily. I mean, and Houston ran stretch against them really, really effectively. I think you should sprinkle some of that in there. The counter stuff, once again, GT counter. Houston had this play. They had a little wrinkle off GT counter. They would pull the backside guard and the backside tackle and act like they were running counter, and the running back would stop and just fly the other way, and they would just flip it to him. And that got him in space, and West Virginia just couldn't adjust to it. It was interesting to watch. But I also think, and I know I've complained a lot about the stuff at or behind the line of scrimmage. That type of stuff is good against this team. Swing screens, bubbles, those things that you would consider an extension of the run game. Ted, I just don't see their defensive backs doing a nice job getting off blocks out there on the perimeter. And our wide receivers have done a nice job blocking some of that stuff up. But ultimately, if you have success running the football, their safeties will get aggressive, and there will be more opportunities to throw it down the field. UCF had a lot of success with some of their RPO stuff where John Rice Plumlee, he's got his eye on that safety. And if that safety looks like he's coming and fitting the run in the play action, he just throws it right in behind him to a guy. And they just exposed him in the middle of the field at times. But yeah, it's not going to be easy because this is a strong veteran group for the most part. But running the football is going to be important. And you have to see if they fix some of those issues they've had with their run fits.
Yeah. Well, I think the lateral stuff, I think it's always good when we're attacking vertically. Like you have to stress the defense different ways, and those things are supposed to work in tandem. You attack people at the line of scrimmage with some lateral stuff and some run game stuff, and you force them to tighten coverage. But when they tighten coverage, you have to make them pay with the vertical passing game. So I'm with you, but I think we can have success everywhere. I'm really looking for the run game, and I'm curious, like, what do you think about the gap scheme stuff? I know the stretch stuff is good because we can cut them off, but like for us, it has felt like the last couple of weeks, like maybe we've started to develop a little bit of an identity in some of the gap scheme stuff. How do you think that stuff will play?
Yeah.
With the backers not being very good at fitting.
Yeah. I think with what we've seen over these last couple of weeks, the gap schemes have, you think about Tawee Walker's touchdown run against Oklahoma State. I mean, it's GT counter, right? And it's something we've discussed. This team, they have not done a great job along the offensive line with their combinations in the zone running game. For whatever reason, you're not seeing a ton of movement. It doesn't feel synced up. Now, you can't just run only gap schemes. That's not going to result in an effective running game. But yeah, Ted, I'm with you. It does appear for whatever reason that this offensive line is more effective with those style of plays as to running especially outside zone. They're just not good at running it. But yeah, I'm interested to see what concepts Lebby turns to most often in the run game in this one, because it may be gap scheme stuff, just like you're saying.
I don't know. I think that's. I mean, sometimes there's what looks like it would work against this defense, and there's what are we good at, and it feels like we've kind of started to maybe hit a little bit of stride with the gap scheme stuff. And, I think maybe it's because with some of the inside zone that we do or the tight zone stuff, there's a lot of RPO off of that with us. And I wonder if we got a governor on our offensive line, it feels like, on the RPO stuff. And whenever you've got the gap stuff, you can't really hold off much in the gap scheme. I guess you can hold on doubles before you climb to the next level, but like when you're back blocking, you got to get there. When you're pulling, you got to get there. So I think maybe that keeps our energy and our speed up in the run game.
Not to derail this, But I've told you for years now, since we've been doing this podcast, how much value I put in coming off the ball with velocity at the O-line position, right? You see the difference, right, with the way that West Virginia comes off the rock and the way that Oklahoma comes off the rock. I'm not crazy.
Oh, it's speed, right? Like on a lot of stuff, like most runs when you watch Oklahoma film, when you're on the end zone camera, it's right there. In West Virginia runs, the end zone camera is moving, like because you've got like a mass of people that are and that's why I like the boot game that they run, is because you get everyone moving with the run, and then whenever it's a boot and you pull it, you still have that mass of people that are going the opposite direction.
Yeah. Pass game thoughts. West Virginia's pass rush, just a lot of three-man rush. I believe something will have to go on tragically wrong if Dillon Gabriel's under a lot of pressure in this game. They don't have really anyone that stands out as a quality pass rusher. 10, Bartlett, and 8, Tyron Bradley. I actually think 8, who is their backup, Bandit. He has a good combination of speed and power. He looks good in a uniform. I think he's their most effective pass rusher. But the defensive line, it's pretty simple. It's like, can you hold up against the bull rush? They're going to try to run through your soul to get to the quarterback. So I am expecting Dillon Gabriel to feel comfortable in the pocket. You have to be aware where number 1 Koba is coming on blitzes. We saw Nick Martin for Oklahoma State add to the rush late and smoke Dillon Gabriel in the chest a couple times. Koba will do the same thing. You have to have your eyes on number 1. If he is in the count, you cannot just glance at him and ignore him after that. He will make you pay if you do that. But I think their strategy from a coverage standpoint is, hey, make offenses earn their way down the field. We'll give up some of the short stuff. Let's keep a lot of this stuff in front of us with this deep zone coverage. And we're going to make your quarterback have good timing and be accurate. And it reminds me, you hear Venables say it all the time, you're never going to go broke taking a profit. It may be that type of game for Oklahoma's passing game. They're undoubtedly going to take their shots down the field. They did it against Oklahoma State. They just didn't connect on enough of them.
Yeah.
And Dillon Gabriel, he's got to let it fly, man. You cannot, when the opportunities are there, and they will be, you have to test 14 Malachi Ruffin. He's given up big plays. Anthony Wilson, 12, one of their safeties. He's an undersized guy at safety. You have to test those guys, but the ball's got to be on time. Wide receivers can't be slowing down, looking back for it. So it's important for the run game to force West Virginia out of some of that deep zone coverage. You got to get the run game going. But yeah, this is another defense that Oklahoma's offense should have a big day against. But I've said that the last 2 weeks, and it just hasn't happened. So I'm as interested as everyone else to see what this offense looks like on Saturday.
I think if we do what we do and have done, we'll be fine. If we don't turn the football over, we have got to get back to taking care of the football. It wasn't even a concern for a big portion of this season, and all of a sudden it's become the concern. So a lot of stuff's going to tell the story of the game, but none more so than what the turnovers look like afterwards.
You got anything else?
No.
OU's offense, West Virginia's defense. All right, let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys the number 1 thing that you'd be watching for in OU West Virginia. And I really like this one from Wishbone Willie. Discipline from the top down. No self-inflicted penalties and turnovers. If either happen, make West Virginia force them. Call offensive plays that work, not plays that dazzle. We are who we are. Everyone just do their damn job. Wishbone Willie, that is a pretty comprehensive statement there. I like that.
And it's well said. It really is. We can talk about all of the individual plays, and this should have happened and that should have happened, and officiating, which we're going to be going against them as well. We know that at this point, but we have all these self-inflicted wounds over the last 2 weeks that it's frustrating to watch. Clean football, disciplined football, penalty-free, turnover-free, and we win the game. Like, no one has to do anything spectacular above and beyond what they're asked to do. And like, that's the thing that at least makes you feel good, that the problems we've had the last 2 weeks are easily correctable. We just got to stop giving people, like, we've been giving the game away.
There's a difference between takeaways and giveaways.
Right. Yep.
Takeaways, the defense makes a play. You could even say, you look at the 3 turnovers that OU had in Bedlam. The interception, okay, they're in the right place in coverage. Guy goes and makes a play on the football. Takeaway. The fumble on the trick play, the bad snap that goes off Dylan Gabriel's leg, giveaway.
Yep.
You got to, if you're going to turn the football over, the defense better damn well earn it.
That's it.
So no giveaways. If they make a competitive play on the ball, okay. You don't want that, but you can live with it. The giveaway stuff has to stop.
Yep.
One other thing I want to say about this. I've had a couple people reach out to me and say something of like, the fans are mad at the offense. And I understand that. I think the offense has been the issue in the Kansas loss and in the Bedlam loss. But some people have said, well, they better watch out. If they go 3-and-out on Saturday to start the game, the fans are not going to be happy. What are you going to do, boo them on their own field? That's nonsense. It's ridiculous. I can assure you, if they go 3-and-out on their first series, their own fans booing them, that's not going to help things. That's not going to get them going, okay? Right. They hear the criticism. They know what's what, right? Do not boo those players if they go 3-and-out early in the game. It will help nothing. I assure you. I've had multiple people say something like that to me this week, Ted, and I have told them, tell everyone you know, do not do that.
Yeah.
Please don't do that. It's embarrassing when fans do that.
Yeah. That you don't want to be, you want to be part of the good side of it. You want to build the players up. You want them confident. You want them to feel like what they're doing is meaningful. It's not just within those walls. Like you hate whenever a team, like, you can have an us against the world mentality, meaning it's like West Virginia has been picked 14th preseason, right? You can use that as fuel. It's us against the world. But you don't want your team to have to like huddle together and use that, even like forget our own fans. Like, you don't want that. You want to be in on it. You want to be a part of it. You want to help these guys because it matters. The environment is going to matter. You don't want to do that. And a 3-and-out happens. 3-and-outs happen. Okay. I'm fine with a 3-and-out. As long as we punt the football well and, and cover. Punting isn't always a bad thing. Turning the football over is a bad thing. If we punt, we're okay.
I know that some fans are not pleased with Jeff Lebby. I understand that. But if the players hear themselves getting booed by their own fans, it doesn't immediately pop into their heads. Oh, no, that's for the offensive coordinator. That's not for us. Just, you need a home field advantage. And that is the exact opposite of what you want as a player. I promise you. So I felt the need to say something about, because it was multiple people that brought something up like that to me. So